Meanwhile, 49.1. And you're talking about the NCAA tournament. How about your sleepers, the Cinderellas this year?
Well, Ralph Willard with his Holy Cross squad, not just precise in offense and spread the floor, but they've got some skilled players and more quickness this year. And Creighton with Dana Altman doing a tremendous job, and behind Nate Funk and Ben Davidson, Bob McCulloch's squad playing excellent basketball and fundamentally sound. So those are some dangerous teams to draw in the first round of the NCAA tournament.
You know, the Graybeard, Bob McKillop, on your list.
Another coach who's always been a head coach.
How about the
Never been an assistant
matchup with Notre Dame, though?
I like Winthrop. The irony there is, of course, everyone knows coming in they're the favored Cinderella,
right.
So they don't have the advantage of the ability to ambush. There's no Robin Hood, no Little John and Sherwood Forest dropping down on you. Everyone knows from the outset that Winthrop is the team. They actually have the bullseye on their chest all year long. It's been well chronicled. They're going to be a dangerous first-round opponent, and they are.
It is ironic, you're right, because people jumped on that bandwagon early, and it was a chic pick up until about the last couple of weeks of the season.
Yeah, the element of surprise. They can't sneak up on you.
Cliff Brown, our Powerade player of the game. 29 points, 21 of those in the second half. And average is 16. It's Fisher who's the leading scorer on this team, and 21 a game. Substitution, in comes Robinson, out goes Mason. Sanders back in as well for the last 38.9.
You know, opening round game or not, Terry, you have to be honored and pleased to be a part of the NCAA tournament. That's the bottom line. You can be a little bit salty, play with a chip on your shoulder. If that's a motivational edge you try and give your team. But when you look back, when you retire as a coach or these players end up hanging them up someday, to be here tonight, playing on national TV, battling right to the end, you have to be grateful.
Quick timeout for Michael Espy after the lay-in by Robinson. So it's a 9-point game. One timeout left for FAMU. Ice pack on for Brian Green right now. 30 points for Cliff Brown to lead this second half charge for Niagara. How about the sleepers this year in the tournament?
Well, these are some teams traditionally that come into the tournament with higher seeds, but are bloodied, but still unbowed this year with lots of losses, but still very dangerous. When you look at Arizona, Villanova, Gonzaga, Arizona in particular with Chase Budinger and Marcus Williams, Mustafa Shakur, a very explosive perimeter attack. If they can play some solid defense and sustain execution and intensity, Arizona a very dangerous matchup. And of course, Jay Wright's Villanova Wildcats with Mike Nardi, who's expected to play, and Curtis Sumter, a grizzled fifth-year veteran, and Scotty Reynolds, an outstanding freshman. Gonzaga's been through lots of off-court distractions, the suspensions of Josh Heitfeld, but sometimes, as you know, teams like North Carolina State, when they won the national title, that went through struggles, had some adversity, they end up being stronger at the mended places. When they hit a tough spot in a game in the tournament, it doesn't faze them. They play through it.
The difference was, with us in 1983, Derek Wittenberg came back from an injury, so he was there in the NCAA tournament. Josh Heitfeld won't be, and tough matchup with Indiana the first round.
Well, think of this, in this decade alone, in 2000, you had North Carolina coached by Bill Guthridge and Wisconsin coached by Dick Bennett. Both those teams in 2000 made the Final Four, went into the tournament with double-digit losses. 2001, Maryland with double-digit losses. 2002, Indiana makes the championship game with double-digit losses. You take a look at this list. So sometimes if you come out of a power league and you're learning from each experience and you're building your team and you hit your stride at the right time, you could make the Final Four even though you've underachieved or had some tough spots along the way.
Remember, 20 games used to be the magic number at one point. Over 100 teams had that this year.
Now, on the flip side, sometimes the teams that go in 30-1 or 29-2, when they face a little adversity, fall down 16 in a game, the game pressure starts to mount, and you get those crowds at a neutral site start pulling for the underdog, and all of a sudden you got the major upset.
It's a different animal when you play in the tournament and you're at the neutral site. Mason, the jumper in the lane, and that's the final timeout for FAMU. So we'll send it back to Karl Ravech once again in the studio. Karl? All right, Karl, see you in a minute. 75-66 Niagara here What will they face in Chicago on Friday? Well, it's just the #1 seed, the Kansas Jayhawks.
A hungry team after first-round losses the last 2 years to Bucknell and Bradley, and a very talented team with Brandon Rush, a crunch-time performer in late-game situations, and Julian Wright, Mario Chalmers, Russell Robinson, Sharon Collins, an excellent ball hawker, brings great energy to the court. This team capable of cutting down the nets in Atlanta without a doubt.
And as you mentioned, timing is everything. They've won 11 in a row, have the Jayhawks. With the win tonight, Niagara will have won 12 in a row.
I had Kansas as a team to win the national title until I saw the brackets come out. When I saw they had to go out west 2 consecutive weeks, or have to make that cross-country trip and to play UCLA in essentially a home game, similar to last year when UCLA advanced to the Final Four. That is such a great advantage to stay in the West, and they should be rewarded with a